such a long time ago. This started in 2001, so we really had to think hard. I destroyed all my material because of so much. But after listening, we got together, and after listening to Jenny and Paula, it brought a lot back to mind. I'm sorry?
Keep the microphone at your mouth.
Okay. So, at any rate, my concern when I first found out about the project, and it's been morphed into many different projects, it started out as Jenny said, the racominiums, then it morphed into the condominiums, and a lot of playing, a lot of game playing, and then back into the 365 Marina Yacht Center. But the main concerns that I had when I found out about it was the environmental concerns and how it was going to impact the bayou, which wasn't just impacting the bayou, but the concern was that with the dredge that they were proposing to accomplish whatever they wanted to accomplish, that it would destroy the habitats, the snook habitat mainly, because it's very threatened. The snook habitat was very threatened. We've had many things happen to the snook after these projects, but these proposals. But also, it was the main, Whitaker Bayou is the only, after talking to Moat, is the only habitat that's left. Most of the habitats and the tributaries that come off of Sarasota Bay have been dredged and been destroyed for that purpose. So we were very, very concerned, not just for our area, but the whole, from Terracea all the way up to Venice Jetties. It was threatening, because you see the snook lay their eggs, some of them float in, and the mucky stuff that you find on the side of the bayou that you don't want dredged is where those eggs settle, and they feed the little babies coming up. So it was very, very serious to us. Not only that, the snook industry and the fishing industry is a very important part of Florida's industry. The industry is a very important part of Florida's, yes. And so, and so we were very concerned about that. I had no idea that the snook industry at that time provided for the state of Florida approximately $25 million, just the snook industry alone. And then on top of that, I was told by Mo that it's a $6 billion saltwater recreational industry. So you take that out of the $6 billion, it's a big chunk. But not only would this threaten the snook, it threaten other things. We have manatees that come up frequently into Whitaker Bayou. We have a lot of the birds, everything. And eventually they did do the dredge, and it did destroy the snook beds, and they're gone. But it's filling back in, and the snook are coming back, so it's, it's coming back, so we're very happy about that. That's one of the reasons that we're excited, and we're in a hurry to get this project done so it doesn't turn into something else. We're very, very relieved. But one of the things that, also the bay, I grew up on this bay, on Sarasota Bay, many years ago. And I've seen the depletion of scallops. I've seen the depletion of shrimp, crabs, everything else. They're gone. You can find one occasionally, but I don't know if they'll ever come back. But whatever we can do to protect what we have, this bay is very environmentally threatened altogether. I can remember seeing nothing on this bay but mangroves, all the way down. You'd go out in the boat all the way down, you'd see mangroves. Now you see mostly concrete blocks, glass, and that is, it is what it is. But whatever we can do, I think it's our duty, whatever we can do to protect what we have. It's not just for us. We're not NIMBYs. It's not just for us. It's for the whole state of Florida. If we destroy our bay, we're not going to have a lot to entice people to come here. Not that we need a lot more people here, but it's true. We have to protect what we have. So, and I guess that's about it. We went through many meetings, meeting after meeting after meeting, and we grew a lot. I would say this, that it's a wonderful experience. It didn't seem like it some of the time, but I met many people in this battle, and we became friends. It probably would have never happened had we not had this issue. So I encourage everybody here, if you're facing things, most people here are already on board. They're already, issues come up. But I think the important thing that Kathy kind of pointed out is that it was two different neighborhoods. We had Tahiti Park with Whitaker Bayou in the middle, and we bonded together, and we did the best that we could with what we had to, go to the meetings and learn as we went on how to speak at city commission meetings, which was terrifying to some of us. It really was. And to be told that, developers have a right to develop the property, absolutely. But what are zoning codes for? What are they for? They're to protect the neighborhoods. They're to protect, develop what you want, but do it within the guidelines of what is there, or go for conditional uses. I mean, that's what has to happen. If you travel to other countries and you go to other places, it's almost shameful what we've let happen here. It really is. When I see other places, how they protect their areas. A lot of places you can't even paint a house a different color than it was 300 years ago. You have to stay in the confines of what, to try and maintain and keep some of the atmosphere, which is the reason for people coming here. People aren't going to come here if it's going to be Miami Beach. But, okay. So, I just encourage you to bring others on board, younger people. We have a lot of people in this town that are environmentally, that are being schooled and educated, and it'd be great to see them at some of these meetings and share their expertise and come on board. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm going to speak a little bit here about Indian Beach Sapphire Shores. Don Farr and I were members of the Indian Beach Sapphire Shores for a very long time, 16 years for me, longer for Don. We came together in the 1980s and joined the board at the very end of the 1980s through the 1990s, and we participated on an enormous number of task forces that came together. Many different people from within the neighborhood association volunteered their time in order to work on the comprehensive plan for the city, and also then to deal with issues that neighborhoods had. And as we began to learn the information that we needed in order to combat the issues that we had with bayfront issues, people wanting to build docks, harden the shoreline, build houses that were out of character and incompatible in the neighborhood, we began to develop quite a bit of expertise. We had a committee that would meet sometimes twice a week for months in order to work on projects. The neighborhood association was led by Bart Cotton initially, and Charlie Hegena, a lot of people that I'll eventually list on our website as participants. But Don and I came on about the same time, pretty much novices to working with these things, and grew quite a bit. I'm going to let Don talk about some of the legal issues that we began to learn. And these are the things we're going to try to communicate to other neighborhoods so that they understand. The most important thing you have to do when you're dealing with an issue is to learn the important points in your defense that you have to go out and provide support for in order to defend it. To go down and say it's not pretty, to go down and say that it's bad for children and stuff is very good for emotional reactions among people, but it doesn't change the legislative decision that's made and the land use decision that's made by the people who have to make that decision. And they are required to base their decision on facts. So this is why it's very important. Don?
Thanks, Kathy. I've been on the Indian Beach Sapphire Shores board for 30 years now. Seems like a fraction of that time, but in all that time, I would say this by far was the most frustrating issue that really came before our board and left a really lasting impression with not only the board members, but many of the residents in the neighborhood as well. And the impression that was left was that the Indian Beach Sapphire Shores Neighborhood Association and the directors were opposed to development, generally speaking, which was a very false impression that was left with a lot of the neighborhood, and it remains to this day. Regrettably, I think our board today is much more timid than the board in terms of development issues. Much more so than boards throughout the 30 years that I've been involved with the association. But this was these proposals were proposals that needed to be objected to by the neighborhoods who were impacted, and I have absolutely no regrets about the incredible amount of time that we spent working in opposition to these developments. It was a situation of the developers trying to play fast and loose with the code in order to build something that simply was not permitted under the code. I mean, I thought we could argue very effectively to that point. But to Kathy's point, very importantly, I think that you really need to be organized when, if there is a project like this that your neighborhood feels strongly should be objected to, and there is a strong basis for objecting to it. It pays to organize, plan, and make an effective presentation. I would say that to the extent that we were successful in having some of the developments refused by the city, there was as much damage done, I felt, by countless neighbors going up to the table and chattering on and on about emotional issues that didn't mean a thing. And the commissioners were frankly quite frustrated by it. Planning board members frustrated to have to sit and listen to this. And if you prepare ahead of time and get up there and just make the points to address the issues that are code issues that they can make a decision on, it's going to be a much more effective outcome for everybody. So, to Yvonne's point, I'm anxious to see the proposal that's come forth now. Everybody seems generally excited about it, but from what I understand, it's going to be a major intensification of traffic in the bayou, and so I'm anxious to hear what it's all about. So.
Thank you, Don. The information that small neighborhoods need can be gotten through organizations like CCNA and CONA. And anyone that's involved with friends who are being subjected to issues like that, please refer them to them. I'm going to go now and let Joel and Mr. Bridges make a presentation regarding what they are proposing.
Thank you very much. I'm Joel Friedman. Many of you and I have interacted before. You know, I've been here about 33 years now doing what I'm doing, and I've had the pleasure of being involved with many, many great projects, working with a variety of landowners and developers. Jim Bridges is a very unique one in that he is a visionary. He's dedicated to Sarasota, and I think if I could use a term, he understands sometimes less is more. So I'll just briefly talk a little bit about the project we're doing, and then Jim probably can add some specifics if you want to get into that. The property that we're talking about, we call it Whitaker Bayou site. It does not include these 4 single-family homes on this area or the property across the bayou. So it's about just under 9 acres of land. You went through the history as far as what was originally approved. This is part of the North Trail area that there are several of you in this audience, including myself, that worked with the city to create an overlay district along the North Trail called the North Trail Overlay District. And what currently is in effect now is a voluntary overlay provisions that if the landowner or developer agree to work with those provisions, there's some incentives that that developer will get. The incentives include a slight reduction in parking requirements, one additional floor for residential development, and a few other things. But again, you've got to meet the performance standards of the overlay district, trying to create a more new urbanist type of view of the project. What's going to happen here on our site is that the entry road is going to line up with 17th Street, and the small parcel on the south side of that street is going to be just developed using the North Trail District. It's going to be a restaurant with a drive-through that people have talked about on the North Trail for a while. And then the rest of the project, little under 8 acres, will be developed using the overlay district, and it will include 156 condominium units, about 16,500 square feet of commercial up along the street, very close to the street, like the North Trail Overlay District wants, and then that 2,000 square foot restaurant that's not part of the overlay. The original plan for the boat storage facility did have boat docks or wet slips associated with it. Currently there are 32 wet slips that are permitted by the state. And what Jim is planning to do is modify that permit to increase it slightly to, I believe it's 50 boat slips. And those boat slips will be associated with one of the residential units in the development. I'll show you a plan in a minute. Only for those residents. It's not going to be commercial or anything like that. So people will buy a condominium unit and they can buy a boat slip as well. Yeah, probably. Maybe, I don't know if the lights go up or not. Okay, so US 41 is over here on the right side of the site. Oh, I got you. Okay. Sorry, we didn't put this on a PowerPoint. Okay, I'll do this one. This is US 41 right here. Here's 17th Street. So the main entrance to the development will be right here, aligned with 17th Street. We're working with the DOT right now, talking about what needs to happen both at our entrance and within 41. This is the restaurant parcel I was telling you about. It's just north of the former Italian restaurant. These are 2 retail buildings. The retail has not been decided on yet. And then here we have the 3 condominium buildings. The one building here has 76 units, and the other 2 have 80 units or 40 each for a total of 156. They're 4-story buildings over parking, and they're with, again, completely consistent with code. We've worked around the grand trees that are healthy in this area and other parts of the site. We understand the importance of those trees. There will be an amenity area for the condominium association here with a swimming pool, a small meeting facility, exercise room type of thing. Parking is underneath each of these buildings as well, so that when you look at this, you go, where's the parking? Well, there's parking spaces under each of those buildings. I'll let Jim later on get into the specifics of how many 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms and all of that. I can get you a discount if you sign up now. Switch it. This is the building along the water. Make sure I'm out of the way. Again, you can see it's 4 living floors over parking that you can't even see. The idea is to create an esplanade or a promenade along the waterfront for everyone to enjoy. The only access, main access is going to be lined up with 17th Street, but there is going to be a secondary emergency type access that's currently there between the subway and La Quinta, the motel there. That's not going to be a main access, or only used for emergency purposes. Then finally, there's one more view of the other building. And you can see it's a much smaller in length building, but again, the 4 living floors over parking. Now, when I said in the beginning that less is more, this property could be developed with well over 270 units. This is going to be 156 units. The commercial, at one time we were looking at what to do along 41. Obviously, 41 is a very busy street. And I think, I hope you all agree that when this neighborhood is developed and these residences are up there, it's going to help support additional new commercial on the trail, creating pedestrian activity along the trail. I think the roundabouts that the city is working hard doing is going to slow down the traffic, yet improve the traffic flow. And I think this is, I've been here 33 years, and I believe I've been involved with some great projects in the city, and I'm very proud of that. But I think that this is a true community-changing project, and it's going to kick the North Trail off in the right direction, combining that with what Ringling School is doing. I mean, we're finally, I think, going to see the North Trail that we've all wanted for many years. And I know Mr. Patel, I think he's still here. Oh, he did leave? Oh, there he is, yeah. And he's probably one of the hardest working people to try to get the North Trail, and I hope he would agree that this is maybe his dream coming true. So let me turn it over to Jim now and just talk about why is he doing this and what these units are going to be like, and he's the true professional.
Thanks, Joel. Jennifer, Kathy, thank you so much for inviting us tonight. What a great location for a meeting. This is very, very special. Real close. Okay. I guess I've been, developing pretty much all my life, ever since I got out of college. So I've got 40 plus years experience. I started very, very early. JEPCO is James Edward Bridges Company, has been since 1975 when I incorporated. We've done a lot of different types of projects. We change when the market changes. We don't adhere to any rules that says you got to do this just because. You just got to, because you've zoned for 20 units, but you only build 10. Why are you doing that? Well, some areas just don't justify any more than that. Right now we got a small project on Golden Gate Point, zoned for 20, building 10.